I would like to introduce Lieber. She is running for County Commissioner Precinct 1.
Thank you, everybody. It is such an honor and a privilege to be here. When I got the invitation from Aaron and Amy, I was so elated, so excited. The young people in this room tonight, you are the future of the Republican and conservative movement, absolutely. I said to one gentleman tonight, I said, I hand the baton to you. He said, no, I take the baton. And I love that. I love that. It shows the vitality, the spirit for liberty and freedom, and I'm just so excited to be here tonight. As I said earlier, I was wondering, you mentioned the membership, Aaron. Is there an age requirement or top out on that?
That's a Katie question.
That's a Katie question.
Anyone is allowed to be a member, doesn't matter age.
Okay, well that's good. That's good to know. Then I'm in. Then put me down. Alrighty now.
Young at heart, right?
Young at heart. That I qualify for sure. But tonight I'm here to tell you why I'm running for county commissioner. I am a grassroots conservative, lifelong Republican activist that lives up in Prosper, and I focus on infrastructure, transportation, and a little subject called property rights. And what I have been, like I said, a lifelong Republican, voted for Ronald Reagan the first time I was eligible in 1980, and but never been active until two occurrences. I moved to Prosper in the end of 2006, and the emergence of the Tea Party shortly thereafter in 2009. The reason I don't think I was active, now I did some casual campaigning for George W. Bush in 2000 and 2004. I go over to the headquarters over there and make phone calls or whatever they asked me to do. But I never knew any like-minded people, and even though I was living in Plano, which is a very conservative city, there wasn't an atmosphere where people would get out and really discuss politics or activate. So when the Tea Party came around, through the Dallas Tea Party, I enrolled and started getting their emails and was cued into people that actually lived in my zip code. And a lady from Prosper, Kelly Cooper, we co-coordinated the Prosper Tea Party from its inception. And the media loves to paint all the Tea Party with a broad brush. They were all the same, you know, we're this, we're that. But I have found it truly to be a grassroots movement. I do not think that there's any two Tea Parties that are the same, and our focus was always on the education. We focused on the Constitution and the founding documents, and then we took that knowledge and we took it to the streets. We took it to our town council. We took it to school board. We took it to county commissioners court. And that I think was the difference, and I think that was the power that we had, because we have done wonderful things. And I encourage, you know, the people here tonight doing the heavy lifting. When you go to a meeting, and this is a strategy that I've employed and had great success with. When you go to a meeting and get up to a microphone and speak on the public record, not only are you talking to your duly elected reps and helping educate them, the people in the audience are seeing you. They're hearing these things. You're planting seeds in their minds, and that has a cumulative effect. And I think it can create a firestorm, and maybe you're bringing up something they've never thought about before. Maybe they've never thought that a smart meter is an infringement on their Fourth Amendment right and worried about privacy. Maybe they've never considered that a smart meter could be a health issue, or that toll roads are taxation in perpetuity without representation. You plant the seed of liberty and flame the fire, and I think it can create a firestorm. That has been my approach. That is what I'm all about. I'm big into research. I'm a very hard worker, and I try to vet my own information. If I hear something, I try to make sure what I hear is correct, and do my homework. So that is very time consuming, and You know, the Republican Party, I've said that I have been a lifelong Republican, but I have not been as active as some people in Collin County with the Republican Party, and it's strictly a time issue. There's so many hours in the day. I have a family, and running a tea party, you know, doing the agenda, giving the guests, y'all all know what, having this group, you know the time involved, and so I have chosen a different path. What I do is when I have an issue to speak to or something I want to get out, I go. I don't go to a Republican club. It's almost like hanging out with people at church. They're good. They're going to be saved. They don't need you. But I try to go where there's not a conservative voice. I try to go to places where there's not going to be any talk of liberty or freedom, where they're going to be dictating how you live, work, and play without a vote from the citizenry. And I have a problem with that. And that's one of the things I see happening in Texas, and I am a native Texan. I was born in Dallas, raised in Richardson, lived here all my life. And I want to add this, I'm in new home sales. So I see people on a weekly basis flocking to Texas. And no, they're not coming here to spread their liberal ideology. They're running from other states and trying to escape with their family. They want to come here. They're so excited to be here. They think Texas is the last bastion of freedom. And I say, by God, we cannot disappoint them when they get here. We have got to stand firm on rule of law. And the trend that is so troubling that I see today is regionalism. I don't know if anybody, Stanley Kurtz, who writes for the National Review this past summer, wrote an article on it, and please Google it. Please make notes on your phones or a piece of paper so you won't forget later to Google it. But Google Stanley Kurtz, National Review, regionalism. And that's what I see is happening today. They trot this regionalism out. They say it's cost effective and it's all for the public good. But what this is a blurring the lines of cities, towns, and counties and their sovereignty. It's affecting the citizens. It's affecting the municipalities, the counties. They want to blur the lines in order to take the tax dollars, pool them, and then redistribute this money to whomever they see fit to receive it. I think that's a problem. I do not think that is representative government. I think it's an overreach, and if we don't understand it, we can't really fight back. That said, I am very optimistic about Collin County. We are a very affluent county. The median income in Collin County is $80 grand a year. Average home price is north of $200,000. We are a blessed county. Business is booming here. We've got people flocking to this area because they want the quality of life that they see. They want to raise families here. The school systems are dynamite. The cost of living is low. And so we have so much good happening, and I want to keep that happening. But I do think that any elected rep needs to have a broad view of the world. We can't just focus on what's going on in our county. We need to look at other counties in Texas and follow trends. And that's what, if anything, I am a trend watcher. And I try to stay apprised of what's happening. And if there's any infringement happening on our rights, I am all about individual rights. I reject the notion of collectivism. We have too much of that. Our children are taught that today. They're taught all for the common good. And the problem with that, yes, we love our neighbors. Yes, we want to help. But we don't want the state telling us we have to. Okay? Because that's why this country was founded. It was founded on individual rights. And we have to protect that. When we have the democracy that we hear the president, elected reps on both sides of the aisle, not just the Democrats, the Republicans call us a democracy too. That is a lie. That a democracy is mob rule where 51% of the people can vote away the rights and property of the remaining 49%. So we have to be on guard for that. We have to watch it. And that is the type of commissioner that I will be when I see a piece of legislation come across. And now they call this an administrative post, and it is. We are the purse strings of the county and decide how monies are spent. But they do they do legislate. There are court orders that happen in the county where they have the jurisdiction to decide things. And when I see something come across my desk, that's the first thing I say. Is this going to be liberating for the people? Is it going to be a revenue stream that's going to gouge them? I reject that. I look at a piece of legislation and see how is this going to affect my constituents and vote accordingly. If it's any of those negative things that are not rule of law and constitutional, I want to pass on that, okay? And I think I'm very independent-minded, and I think that I will represent the people well. In Precinct 1, I don't necessarily see this job as having an R or D behind its name. We are talking about infrastructure, we are talking roads, bridges. It's a very kind of pragmatic spot, but I am a fiscal conservative. I will take this very seriously and dedicate 100% to the job, and I love your consideration. On March the 4th is election day, and early voting starts February the 18th. And I didn't want this to be a stump speech, but once I get going, I would love to entertain any questions from the audience.
I have a question.
Yes.
How many toll roads go through your district?
I would be afraid to count, but we've got 121 with the outer loop is already slated a toll. We have George W. Bush. And Barbara, what is so upsetting to me, and if anybody knows me and has followed me, I'm not a fan of toll roads. But now they are putting managed toll lanes on what have been existing freeways, 635, 35, 75. They're putting the HOA coming up Central Expressway. And I went to a COG meeting and approached them on that. And I said, you guys are planning on tolling the HOA lane? And he said, no, we're not. And I'm like, yeah, you are. And now you see the managed toll lanes. In planning, they have these warm fuzzy terms like managed. Managed means toll. So when you see a managed lane, that's a toll lane. But they try to give things this warm fuzzy, these terms that, so, you know, we'll be on a need-to-know basis and find out after the fact. So, Barbara, to answer your question, I don't know the exact number, but I feel that Collin County is being hemmed up with toll roads, and I don't see any difference happening in the future unless people stand up to this. And I don't know what can be done, but I do think this is one thing that I have a problem with. There's no transportation is being taken out of the hands of the voting citizenry. It's in the hands of regional transportation entities, and say, so we're pragmatic and say, okay, we've got to have toll roads because there's no other way to get around. You have no control over what that toll charge is. And if you want to complain to somebody, you have to go to a regional entity that's some quasi-government agency that's given their authority from the legislature. And then when you ask the legislature about it, they're not exactly how that entity functions. So it's a mishmash, and it's very difficult to get an answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I heard you say at another time about the vote for, and I wish maybe you recorded it, but it was about the vote for the retirement and why you wouldn't have made a vote.
I would not have made a vote because I wouldn't have been 100% okay with my vote. Unless I have all the facts, I will not vote for something. And there was not enough information on that pension
But they voted.
conversation.
No, you talked about the ones that didn't know and they voted anyway.
Yeah, there were two commissioners on the court that said that they still had questions as to the details, and they wanted to wait on an independent study or something, and that never happened. I don't know if that study was completed. I don't know. I followed loosely. I wasn't able to follow this, as closely as an outsider looking in. I mean, as an outsider looking onto the subject. So, but they did vote. It was a 5-0 vote on the pension question in the county.
But you wouldn't have voted.
I would not have voted unless I was 100% correct on what I was voting for.
I mean, and I want to hear your activist thing again, because I love that.
Well, when I started running, as y'all can well imagine, I've never run for public office before. And it was quite a learning curve when I began, and I felt a little awkward at first. I didn't really know, how to approach it. And I even had I've always referred to myself as an activist because I thought that was a positive term, and some people said, no, don't go there. That's a little, that's a little too much for people. Some people may not understand that. But you know what I said? It's high time people do understand it. And it's not, being an activist means that you're going to activate. You're going to take your knowledge, you're going to take your hard work, you're going to go out into the community and educate and try to bring about change. And all for the conservative movement. So I do not consider I'm proud to be an activist, and I'm not going to hide from that term just because I'm running for office. I think an activist will make a great county commissioner.
Good.
Right. But you've been appointed to boards and commissions by your city council, correct?
Yes, I have. I served for 16 months on the Prosper Advisory Committee, which was a think tank of 14 citizens from Prosper, and we were brought there to kind of envision, or a visioning process is what they use in planning terms today, of what our town would be like that we're built out, or what we were working for the next 5 to 6 years. You talk about economic development, you talk about transportation, you talk about everything under the sun, the size of streets, lot sizes, of housing, density of housing, all these variables come into play. And they came out initially and said, oh, this is going to be so fun, it's whatever you want. 5 minutes later, we had facilitators coming into these meetings and saying, oh, you might not want to do that. Oh, you might want to vote for light rail. And we all said, light rail? What are you talking about? Nobody at the table wanted light rail. They brought in the heavy, and within 15 minutes, he had that entire committee turned around salivating for light rail with the promise of an economic boom that it was going to bring to Prosper. And I'm like, really? People moved out here for the country feel, for a little more elbow room, and now we're wanting a little Chicago and Prosper. I wasn't buying it. So I stood firm. There were 3 women on the committee, and all of us stood firm against the light rail. And I spoke against light rail because we were never given any information on crime, statistics, cost, use, how this would all go down. It was just, we all need light rail and we want it in the comp plan. And people don't, sometimes they get a little aggravated with me because I do read things and I do parse language, because to me, words have meaning. And once something gets in writing and gets into a plan or gets into your city ordinances, it's there. You may not have the good people on your city council. You might not have a mayor that is beloved and you trust with your life, but that legislation is going to be there. So I'm very careful of what I vote on that is going to go into the public record. And I stood firm on light rail to the bitter end, right into the last vote. I spoke against it, but I lost, but you know what? I can live with that. Once a vote happens, I shake hands, I move forward. I work well with people, and I don't hold grudges. It's all about policy for me.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Hey, any questions over there?
Recap what you said.
Thank you. Well, listen, everybody. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed the evening so much. It'll be one for the record book, and I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.